Full disclosure, when I sat down to record this, I told myself I wasn't totally sure what I was going to say. I just knew that I loved the system enough to tell you about it until something useful came out. So here we are. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how I plan out every piece of content I make, YouTube, blog, threads, Instagram, all of it, inside one Notion setup that stays simple on purpose. If we haven't met yet, hey, I'm Delana. I have spent the last 10 years building systems and tech setups for online businesses. I am a migrations expert over at Kit, and I work full-time on top of my client work. So organizing things so that they actually work and aren't just pretty is kind of necessary. Now I want you to walk away from this video with one thing that you can set up right now, which hopefully you'll come back to this video and set the whole thing up, the whole thing, because it'll be helpful. But if you only walk away with one thing, here's what I want you to do. Create one page in Notion and call it your Content HQ. Give it 3 subpages, a topics tracker, a voice notes page, and a story bank. That's it. Start there. Okay? Now I'm going to dive into those, but if you don't go any further, which I hope you do, but if you don't, start there. Now I love Notion for this because it lets me keep everything in one place. And when I say everything, I mean everything. So here I've got my Content HQ page, and you can see that it lives on my CEO dashboard page, which lives on my life stuff page. My life dashboard is everything. Like, it's everything. It has like my workout plan. It has like if Oakley needs anything, that pops up over there. It has like my vision board, like all of the things are over there on that dashboard. And then from that dashboard, I have 3 like buckets basically. And one is the business bucket and one is like life stuff. So this is what Oakley needs and whatever, car maintenance and all that fun stuff. And then I have the like growth one, which has like my workout plan and like things like that for just me improvement. So the Content HQ obviously lives in the business and CEO stuff page. And so that's what I'm looking at here is the content page. And over time, I'll probably go into some of those other pages and videos because I am like living for Notion right now. But for today, we're going to do the content one. So this page houses my content tracker. So this is what I use to actually keep track of what's been posted. All of the content is in here. I've tested out a couple of different ways to keep track of the content. And at first you could see here, these are some things that I never got posted. I was trying to keep them on Google Docs and have the links put in here, but I found a way around that. Basically, I have Claude help me, and it was able to actually start putting the content inside of the page here, which I like a lot better because I don't have to link back out to Google Drive. No hate to Google Drive. I love it. I've lived with it for a long time and it's great. But to me, I could never keep it organized. And so I just ended up with like a million loose Google Doc pages all over the place and sheets and all this stuff. And it's a mess. And I don't like trying to figure out what's over there. So I've started keeping everything here in Notion, and it has worked so much better for me. So the other things that live in here are my YouTube topics page. So this is where I have a YouTube database, and these are topics that are a little bit like close to being ready to actually create the content for. So you'll see some of these have dates. So like I've kind of thought ahead a little bit, and I am planning to launch something probably in like, I think mid-September. So content that I have going through August and early September is going to kind of like lead up to that. So that's kind of what's already planned in here. And then I have other topics in here that are kind of like waiting in the wings. So when I decide I want to do some of this other stuff, I will just put dates on them and they'll move up to the top here and I'll see them. And that's where I will start pulling my content ideas from for the week. I also have links for Pinterest. This is more of just like a shortcut page for me. So whenever I make a new video or blog or product, I put the links in here. So that way when I come to create Pinterest pins, new pins for everything, then I've got everything right here, what it's called, the link, and that's pretty much all you need for Pinterest. So that's in here, more of just like a shortcut. And then I also have this content idea bank. So this is basically where I have ideas when I'm like walking Oakley or something and I need to have a place to put it. I just will plop it in here. These are like less thought out ideas and things that I think I could expand on when I'm ready to actually make that content. So I just kind of put them in here. They're broken down by pillar. So if it's something that like I want to do something that's more community building and less techy, then like I'll have some of that in here. Or if I just want to do like more tutorials on different apps or new ways to use old apps, like then that is in here as well. This is kind of like a brain dump for content ideas basically. And then I've got my content journal in video notes. So before I start working on content for the week, I will come in here and create a page, and I just date it for whatever that Sunday is that I'm working on it. And I use an app called WhisperSync, and basically it will just word vomit all of the thoughts I have about whatever the topic is for that week. So basically what I'll do, I will go into the YouTube topics, take a look at what's coming up for that week. So Notion setup every solopreneur needs here. And then I'll just kind of think about it. Like, what do I have to say about that? Like, I know I'm probably going to show a piece of my dashboard, because if I try to do it all at once, it would be crazy. So like I did one the other day that was kind of like a broad overview, or the other week, and this is very content focused. And so the next one will be, what other piece of my setup do I think solopreneurs will benefit from, especially if you're working full time, because that has been really a big game changer for me, and being able to see all of my projects in one place. Stuff I need to do for me, launches, content, new pages, new products, new offers, that kind of thing. What do I need to do for my clients? What do I need to do for Kit? Because I have migrations over there that I have to do by deadlines, And then when am I working at the store, and when do I need to work around what schedule? Do I need to ask for an extra day off at the store because I have projects I need to catch up on, that kind of thing? I can see it all in one spot, and that helps so much. So basically I'll come in here and think about that. What do I need to share this week about Notion that has helped me tremendously with my schedule and my workload and all that? And how do I share that? And then I'll go back over into the voice notes and just kind of like word vomit that out for the week, everything that I have to think about that. Now, if it's a tutorial, probably like this, it's going to be more of like on the fly, like I've hit the record button and now I'm just going to like show you whatever comes up. But for threads, for emails, for that kind of thing, I like to kind of just think those things out a little bit and then clean it up when it's time to make that content. And then I've also got the story bank here, and this is, I think I got this from Michelle. She's a lady that I've worked with for a really long time now. We work together a lot closely, and she does branding and storytelling. And I think this is something that I got from her to just kind of like talk about my stories, like talk about my story. How did I get here? What things have happened to me? What have I done? What have I changed? Whatever. And it's not all business. Sometimes it's got to do with like moving between South Carolina and Florida, and then Florida and Oklahoma, and like thoughts and feelings and transitions and what brought this on and this and that, and then tying that back into the stories for work and making that relatable and building community around that and that sort of thing. So that's what this page is. So this is less related to weekly content creation. Outside of that, it is a place where I can look back and like pull stories from to use in content like this week, even if the story is older. I like having it handy. So that lives in there too. So now when it comes back to my actual workflow, I do use Claude to help me with this, but it doesn't write my content from scratch. It pulls the topic from the YouTube topics list. It pulls that topic, and it pulls any voice notes that I have rattled off about that topic. So things that I think, things that I want to say, want to teach, want to share about that topic. And then it pieces together a YouTube outline, email outline, and a blog outline for me, and then it does create the threads for me from those snippets of things that I said in my word vomit to it. And then it takes all of that information for me and puts it in here as these topics. So this is obviously like the whole month's worth so far of everything that I have not posted, but it would basically take, so this week was the 26th. So it basically adds this much content for the week in here for me to see and look at and decide what's going to go out. So I definitely check everything. It's not a copy paste situation. It just like gives me the starting point that sometimes I need, because I'm not like a written creative type person. I'm very techie. So I just need that little bit of a push. So it takes my word vomit and cleans it up and puts it into those formats for me to then go in and make sure that it's something that I would actually say. And it puts those drafts and those outlines in here for me to like look at and make sure that they make sense and all of that before I send it out. It's not a copy paste situation, like I said. So basically once all that's in here, I just kind of go through it and see what of it I want to post. I don't necessarily post all of this every week, especially on Instagram. I'm like, that's my worst place that I'm like the least consistent over there. But I try to do the threads. I try to do the email, the blog. I am behind on the blog. That's another thing I like about this, is I can see where I haven't posted. So the blog content is pretty much all in there. It all needs to be edited still, but it's there and it's ready, and I can just go like edit those and post them whenever I have a moment. But I can see that gap instead of like not remembering that, you know, I didn't post a blog 2 weeks ago or something like that. It's in here. You do not have to use Claude or ChatGPT to make this work. Like, this can work solely on Notion and solely on you writing your content word for word. If that's what you want to do, that's obviously totally fine. What you could do is set up your content that you want to repeat every week, set it up to repeat as a recurring task. So what I would do is come over here and create a new template, call it, you know, blog post. And then I would might keep all this empty except maybe platform. Make this say blog. Yeah, blog. And then that might be repetitive. Yeah, so this all you would want to be probably blank, and you'd fill it out for your content for that week. But if you have a blog template that you want to use, title, SEO keywords, like SEO description, like all of that stuff that you want to make sure that you fill out in here, then you could put that in here. And so forth. And then like main content, whatever. Then you would set this to duplicate every week on whatever day you want to sit down and write it. So let's say Sunday, and then we would say starting, I would just say starting Sunday. Never end it, whatever, hit save. You could even give it a little icon. We'll give it a moon. And then you could just close this out. And now you've got a template in here for blog posts. So then every Sunday, this task is going to repeat itself. You'll find it in here automatically on Sundays. I'll just go ahead and we'll create one. So here's this. And you'll see that it's down here. So like this is what you would see in there when it auto generates for you. Oh, I didn't put a due date in there. But then you would just come in and add your information, and you'd have your spot to write it, your reminder to write it, all of that fun stuff in one spot. Now, I did forget to put the due date in there when I made the template, so let me show you how to do that. Come back up here to the blog post. I'll hit edit, edit every week. And then, so in your template, you'll want to just choose today. And what it'll do is every week when it's generated, it will make the due date that day. That way it shows up for you right then. I think you can set it further in the future if you're on like a paid plan. I think there's an automation where you can have it recur and push the date out or something like that. But I just like to do today because it's easier, and then you can always update it if you actually want your blog on Thursday or whatever. You can do that. Or whatever day you set it up to repeat on. So if you want it to be on Thursdays, you could set it up to repeat on Thursdays, and then that Thursday will be the due date. So you could do that with everything. You could set up threads to repeat every day. You could set up Instagram to repeat a couple times a week, or however often you want to do that, and then have it just auto generate those for you in here instead of having like Claude add it or ChatGPT add them for you. So that just totally depends on your workflow, but that's how I like to do it. So that was a real crash course on how I use Notion for my content calendar, but I hope you found it a little bit helpful, and maybe there's pieces that you could pull out of there to make work for you. Now, if you want a piece of this system without having to build the whole thing, I've put a light version of it in my free Tiny Tools library. I'll have the link for that in the description so you can go grab it, along with a lot of other free tools. The full Notion dashboard with content tracker and lots of other things drops in August. All right, y'all, that is how I plan my content in Notion. I am really loving like getting into this app and really setting it up the way that it works best for me. I don't know why it took me so long. Join me next week if you are also feeling Notion, and I will kind of break down my whole dashboard and how everything works together, and how I really kind of started with having it all on one page instead of a million pages. All right, I will see you there. Bye.